Yes, many thanks to Annie McRae for BBC introducing. It's Fabio kicking off the drum and bass show. Next 2 hours, the best in D&B, got interviews and Facebook readouts and the show invasion. It's all happening. Kicking off the show with the sound of Calibre and an absolute classic. Love this tune. Drop it down, big tune. It's Fabio, it's Radio 1. This is how we do.
Never do you wrong. Drop it down. Drop it down. Drop it down. Drop it down. Drop it down.
To start the show, an absolute classic. Calibre featuring the mighty singing fans. Drop It Down, probably Calibre's biggest, most popular tune in an incredible career. What a tune. Great to hear that again. And a great way to start the show tonight. We have got a big show. We got the man himself, Furney, the king of the Quiet Storm. I play a lot of his stuff on the Quiet Storm. And it's overdue for Furney to come in. And he's here later on, bringing in some exclusive business. Can't wait for that. We got the show invasion. The groove comes in with one track that I have to play to the end. So I'll be gritting my teeth on that one. And the infamous Quiet Storm. It's gaining pace. People are feeling the Quiet Storm at the moment. If you don't know what the Quiet Storm is, it's a little liquid mix that I do for about 20-25 minutes. And that's popping off right now. And we've got some great tunes, including this. Sound of Culture Shock. The track entitled Code Red, coming out on RAM. Speaking of RAM, big shout to Andy C and everyone who attended RAM down at Fabric the other week. What a night. What a night. Incredible stuff. Absolutely, totally sold out. I was on before Andy, and Andy came and played a absolutely incredible 2-hour set. Big shout going out to Andy, Red One, everybody involved in the RAM camp. Good to meet up with Wilkinson, Culture Shock, and all the rest of the guys. Some brand new stuff from Wilkinson coming up a little bit later. And I have got a quiet storm to end all quiet storms tonight. Yes, indeed. Right, more music, less chat. 2 in a row. Kicking off with Marky and S.P.Y. And a track entitled Love Affair. Remember, we have got Furney. If you're digging the Quiet Storm, you'll be digging Furney. He's coming on a little bit later. First time he's been on my show. Looking forward to it. Big shout to James and Pippa, who decided not to make some noise. Any need. Better late than never. 2 in a row, it's Fabio.
Drum and bass in the place. 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 In the place.
What's going on? This is Drake, and right now you in the mix with Fabio.
Somebody make some noise for Fabio on BBC Radio 1.
Brand new from Nymfo. There's a joke to be made, but not on the radio. I think that track's called Floating Point, straight out of Holland. Big shout to Nymfo, all the Rotterdam and Amsterdam crews. Before that, you heard the sound of Supreme Being and a track entitled Audio Skanking. Showing you the many sides, the many flavours of D&B. And some Facebook shouts. Let's read that now. Big shout out to Carl, Huggy James, also to Delroy Prussia, to Claudia White, to Leonardo Moran Rivas Holla. Big shout out to Chris Bedder, heavy tunes tonight, man. Shout out to the Portsmouth Mandem. Matthew Boniface says keep them coming. Karen Pablo says loving this late Sunday vibe. Vincent Alvin says I'm loving your show, it's awesome. A big hello from San Jose, Cali. Jordan Bagley says Quiet Storm is by far the best mix on the radio. Fabio is the man, world class. Loving the love. Yanis Mavro says nice one Fabio, wicked mix. Top tunes as usual popping in. And last but not least, Thomas Edmonds says tuning in from Saigon in Vietnam. Now that's what I'm talking about. Big shout to Thomas Edmonds. And as I said before, if you're anywhere remote, or not even remote, a place you wouldn't really associate with drum and bass, like Vietnam, Saigon, that's deep. Give us a shout. We'll give you some love on Facebook. Right, one of my favourite tunes of the year so far. I'm loving this. The sound of Flaco. Pontas La Marias. Remember coming up, we got Furney, we got the show Invasion. We got more of your Facebook shouts. And coming up real soon, we got the one and only Quiet Storm. Fabio. Yes. Dub Foundation, feeling that. AA style. Sounds like the AA, that one. Very reminiscent of AI. And a track entitled Atlantis. Coming out on Simon Bassline Smith's Technique Recordings. Wicked track. I must mention played on my home turf. Again, I seem to be playing in Brixton a lot nowadays. Big shout to everyone who went to Desert Island Disco and Electric Brixton down there in Brixton. Old school night, old school house, wicked stuff. Great to hear all the old music again and hear the legends spinning. Got a chance to listen to Danny Rampling and Nicky Holloway. Also Brandon Block. Excellent night. Big shout to all the Brixton crew. Yes. Not long now for the Quiet Storm, coming up real soon. Right, something that I don't think's been done properly in drum and bass is rap drum and bass. You know, nowadays, you know, you've got so much British hip-hop doing so well, the likes of Chipmunk and Tinchy and Giggs and Professor Green and all those guys. But, you know, it's never really, drum and bass has never really embraced that kind of grime style of MCing. There was Deep a few years back with TC. And that track blew up ridiculously. Still getting played now. Slightly menacing tones on this one. Brand new from Dub Phizix. This track is bad. Coming out on Exit Records. Track entitled Marka, coming up real soon. The Quiet Storm.
Stinky the S.P.Y, that room in the marijuana. Step in on me, they can swim with the piranha. Anytime me drop me, go put on a marker. If it no money, say where them bad attack for. Them a try fi hold up a bank with a banana. Yeah, we pretty whole thing panorama. Woody pa gun talk to the baby wanna drama. To the baby wanna we a kill 'em a block again. Got the things unlocked again. They take 10 shots and again. They pan a old pants on them again. Man a dash them a light them again. We cover that iPad again. Man a ready for the war. If it comes on top, coming out feels frightened again. We a kill 'em a block again. Got the things unlocked again. They take 10 shots and again. They pan a old pants on them again. Man a dash them a light them again. We cover that iPad again. Man a ready for the war. If it comes on top, coming out feels frightened again. We a kill 'em a block again. Got the things unlocked again. They take 10 shots and again. They pan a old pants on them again. Man a dash them a light them again. We cover that iPad again. Man, I'm ready for the war. If it comes on top, coming out feels frightened again. We a kill 'em a block again. Got the things unlocked again. Double take 10 shots and again. They want a old pants on them again. Man, I dash them, I light them again. I cover that iPad again. Man, I'm ready for the war. If it comes on top, coming out feels frightened again. drop me go put on a marker. If it no money, say where them bad attack for. Them we try to hold up a bank with a banana. Yeah, we free the whole thing panorama. Woody park on time to the bed, they want no drama. To the bed, they want no drama. Stinky the S.P.Y, yaki that rum and the marijuana. Step in a me, they can swim with the piranha. Anytime me drop me go put on a marker. If it no money, say where them bad attack for. Them we try to hold up a bank with a banana. Yeah, we free the whole thing. We a kill them a block again. Got the things unlocked and again. Them a take 10 shots and again. Them on the old pants on them again. Man a dash them a light them again. Recover that iPad again. Man a ready for the war. If it comes on top, come and I feel frightened again. We a kill them a block again. Got the things unlocked and again. Them a take 10 shots and again. Them on the old pants on them again. Man a dash them a light them again. Recover that iPad again. Man a ready for the war. If it comes on top, come and I feel frightened again.
Sound of dub Phizix featuring Skeptical. On the rap we have Strategy on Exit Records. That is a big tune on the streets right now. Big shout going out to dub Phizix. He has got some killers. Going to be playing a couple more from dub Phizix a little bit later. Loving his stuff at the moment. Also big shout going out to D-Bridge and all the Exit Records crew. Yes, they have got some big tunes coming, believe. Anyway, it's that time. We do this thing called a Quiet Storm. We roll out a mix for 25 minutes. Got a name check, Lawrence James, who says, the joys of having my own office at work. Bring on the Quiet Storm. And Ashton Cheeklock says locked in from Auckland in New Zealand. And he's looking forward to another epic Quiet Storm as always. Also got to give a shout to Divesh. Also to Mikey Merge. Everyone that hits me up on Twitter about the Quiet Storm get a lot of love. Even from the likes of Supreme Being and D-Minds and guys like that. They are loving the Quiet Storm. And straight after this, check the queue. We have Furney. He's going to be up in the place, bringing in some new material. Then we still have the show Invasion. Some more of your Facebook shouts to read out. Time for the Quiet Storm.
the sounds of drum and bass on your radio. You're listening to BBC Radio 1.
You're in the quiet storm with Fabio on Radio 1.
Fabio.
Yes, you're listening to The Quiet Storm. So far we've had a little bit of Calibre, Paul SG. In the background you can hear absolute favourite, personal favourite. Last night, Marky and S.P.Y. We got Furney coming up soon. We've got Show Invasion. We've got more of your Facebook shouts. It's Fabio, it's Radio 1. Drum and bass.
time to get liquid in the quiet storm.
Is the Quiet Storm for tonight. If you want to get the track listings, go online, BBC, get on the bbc.co.uk/Radio 1. You can find out what I've played. But I enjoyed that, the Quiet Storm. Big up to everybody that be feeling it. If you want to show some love, go on the Facebook wall and we'll read out your comments on the next show. Right. We like to do things in order around here. So we've had the Quiet Storm and, we're sitting down in our little meetings as we do. And it's like, Fab, who do you want on the show? And the king of the Quiet Storm. I think I've played more of his tracks in the Quiet Storm than anybody else. And that's a big feat, man, because I play a lot of Calibre, a lot of dbAudio and Dramatic. They're making some amazing tunes. This guy's stuck to his guns for a little while now, been going for a long time. Big up to Furney. What's up, man?
What's up, dude?
It's been a long time.
It has, sir. That's quite an introduction. Give me there.
Ah, come on, man. I'm getting paid for it. You know what I'm saying? You're going to pay me. But how you doing?
I'm very well, thank you.
Haven't seen you actually since Taylor from Good Looking threw a party. That was beginning.
When was that?
That was the beginning of this year.
It was, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a little while ago, and I haven't seen you since then. But you have loaded me up with a few bits, and I've got to say,
always,
the last batch has been incredible, man. What motivates you to keep going?
It's got to be the love of the music, really, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Just the love, and just like you get this far, you got to just sort of keep going. Because I'm stood here now talking to you, but I used to listen to you when I was like a wee boy.
Yeah, and then you stopped. But yeah, the thing is, it's great having you in because you've been around a little while and you've been around the scene a long time. But how hard it is. It's very, very difficult out there for artists, especially now, with the whole thing with downloads and there's, little money in the game unless you really are making massive tunes. And, you've stuck to your guns, man. That must be incredibly difficult.
Yeah, it is. I mean, like, you get people so many times saying, like, oh, you should make this style. Why don't you do this? Why don't you do that? And it's like, for me personally, the music that I make is something that's true to me. It's something I've grew up, you know, just absolutely been in love with. So I guess that for me, it's staying true to myself, really. And yeah, I mean, that's what I know. So it's like, you know, write what you know, they say, don't they? So
no, absolutely. And,
yeah.
you know, how did you get into the whole studio stuff anyway? You know, because you was a punter, and you know, you was out there doing your thing. And what made you decide to make music?
Well, I guess first thing was to buy the decks. You know, getting a set of decks and mixing the music together.
So important, isn't it?
Exactly, yeah. And then it was like, well, you know, how's this music? How's this put together? And you know, actually, MC Conrad, he's from we actually grew up together.
Where are you from, by the way?
Aylesbury originally,
okay.
yeah. So we grew up in the same town with the whole Silver Bullet thing. So there was a lot of people in my town actually making waves with music, you know, with like a home bedroom setup, like, you know, the Atari, the Akai sampler, and all the other bits. So I guess it was like I actually did a college course as well. I only did it for a year.
Yeah, as you do. I went to college and I played dominoes for 3 years. I could have been world domino champion, but that's another story. Anyway, carry on.
Yeah, and yeah, even in one of the lessons, like the first question the teacher asked us was like, "Who wants to write drum and bass?" I kept my hands down, you know. I didn't want to sort of. Loads of people put their hands up, and he was like, "See you later," wasting my time. So
wow.
Yeah, and it was just like, really. And well, his point at the time was like, you've got to find the next big thing the kids are into to sort of write. But I weren't really interested in that, you know.
Yeah.
For the music I listen to, I want to represent that music and, you know, have a go at trying to make it myself. So it kind of just went from there, really, like sending bits out to you guys, going out to the do's.
Yeah.
My first dream was to cut a dub plate, go in Music House on a Friday afternoon, and it was just like, how old was I at the time? 17, I think.
You must have been young, because that's a little while ago.
Yeah, and I
thought you was going to say 4, actually.
No, yeah, no, it was 17, and it was a Friday evening. There's everybody in like Ed Rush, Optical. They were all in there. It just blew my mind. Just like I thought, well, got to be part of this. And then obviously being quite close to Conrad as well, had that link to.
You got that kind of that way in.
Yeah, I mean, I was 14 when I went to my first Dreamscape. Obviously it was 18, you had to be 18 to get in them places, and we were like, everyone in our school, it was like, whoa. Like, it was like the thing to do, you know. You go to Dreamscape, and like, so hearing you guys and going there, and it's just like been a bit of a journey, really, like hearing the music now played out. Like, say, I think I heard Bukem once play like 10 of my tracks in his set.
Don't tell him that, because he'll be like, no, he tells me they're all by different artists.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I can't remember.
One of them was. Anyway, listen, we're going to go back to that era.
Cool.
And I know you had to pick up old school track. It was amazingly difficult to do that.
It took me I think about a week to like vet tracks.
But you've come out with this track, and this is, I don't know if it's a little known track, but it's one of the great tracks.
It's a great track, yeah, and it sort of never really get, you know, you get certain classic tracks which will always be classic and get a lot of airplay. Yeah. This one's kind of been a bit swept under the carpet, I think.
And the thing is, as well, they made Find Me as well. Which is incredible tune.
Oh, man. And that was actually what I was going to play that, actually. That was one of the ones I was going to play.
I do play that on the old school show a lot, so I'm glad you brought this in, man, because this is, it's a track all the mans know. But it's one of those tracks that you kind of forget about, and it's an absolute classic, man. We have got Furney in the studio. Great to have him here.
Great to be here.
We have got, later on, we've got coming up the show Invasion. Remember, Groove takes over my show for 5 minutes. Thankfully, that's all. And we've got some of your Facebook shouts, and we're going to be talking more with Furney. This is Skanna Heaven. Heaven by Skanna. You know, Skanna, they went on to, they made a couple of really big house tracks after making these tracks. I think they got signed to Perfecto Records, which was Paul Oakenfold's record label, and they went on to really big things. So, big shout to Skanna. That track must mean something to you, man. Is it one of those tunes that when you heard it, you must have been like, wow.
Amazing. Just totally amazing. It's quite different from the other things going on at the time as well.
I tell you what, it was very similar to Fade Away by Doc Scott, but it had...
Far Away. Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah. Listen, no one would have known any different.
Sorry, mate.
No, it's all good. But it's very similar, but they had a very soulful style, a wonderful, wonderful tune. What was the other tunes? What was in your top 5 to bring?
Well, I was kind of like in two minds, because when you say old school, a lot of people have this, argument that, well, if it's 98, it's not old school.
Yeah, right.
But it's like, come on, man. I mean, that was like 13 years ago. But like, people associate old school with 91, 92, but it's like, anything older than 10 years is kind of...
It is.
But I thought of like
sure.
Big Bud, Millennium,
Wicked,
Intense, Only You, obviously because there's a link with yourself there. I actually had a Bukem track called Mannix. Nobody knows that track. Nobody.
Really?
Yeah, seriously. I've actually got it on me, but yeah, it's from it's just before we did Apollo. And it's absolutely, you hear people talking about certain tracks that they remember but never come out. I haven't even heard anyone talk about this track ever.
I don't know. He gave me a lot of stuff around that time that never came out. It might be one of those tracks.
Yeah.
How did you get the hook up with Bukem? Because he's been influential in like everything you've done in drum and bass so far. So
yeah, totally.
How did you guys meet? Through Conrad?
Yeah, totally through Conrad. And obviously I used to come down to Mars as well, dude, to catch you two out. And that era for me was like...
incredible stuff, man.
Yeah, it was a special time. And so it was like, I've got to be part of this. So just writing tracks, giving them to Conrad. And then obviously Danny used to record all his live shows, and that was my first. He basically got me to mix them down, record them. So that was how I first hooked up with him. And then obviously writing the tracks. If you write tracks that he loves, that's it. You've got the bond, really. Yeah, no, for sure, for sure. He will love you for life. Do you know what I'm saying? He really will. He's very kind of intense about his music, and he loves the game immensely. So, are you a nighttime man in the studio? Do you work in the day or the night, or is it whenever you feel the vibe? Yeah, well, for me, I've found the best time I work at night. There's something kind of magic going on after hours, I think, where you've been through the day and you sort of everything's winding down. I find I get really creative right at the end of the night. It's funny because I always want to sleep about that time. You have to force yourself. You've got to be good. No, for sure. But, I know that then other people I've spoken to, like, that I can't really work at night. But I would be a nighttime man, I've got to say. I'm not a daytime man on anything. No. I mean, I felt like the last year I've just basically been in the studio and I find it quite hard. Like sort of starting 9 o'clock in the morning, like as if you'd be doing a job and just doing it like that. I know what you're saying. Yeah. It's like a 9 to 5, isn't it? Yeah. So it's kind of, at night, I do find things kind of open up a bit better. I can't explain why. But quickly before we move on to the next track, how long does a track take you to make? Because I know some guys, it takes them 3 weeks to make one track. Yeah. And then Calibre can make a track in like 6-7 hours. He can do like 3 in a day. 3 in a day, easily, without a shadow of a doubt. What about you? How long does it take you to do a track? Well, recently I've been spending a lot more time, loads of time. The quickest I've ever done a track ever, from making it to it getting played, was 2 hours. Wow. But that... are you being serious? Yeah, a track for, I think, Danny, Doc Scott, a few other characters played out, was 2 hours. But times are changing now. I want to spend a lot more time on things, a lot more time. It's worth it. Time spent. I know it can be hard sometimes when you've got things looping round and round and round. It's but it's worth it in the end if you can sort of put things down. So I think nowadays, the last thing I've done, I spent about 3 weeks on. That's good. Sometimes, you know what? You can hear the quality. You can hear the difference. Yeah, you really can sometimes, I think. It's the difference between just quickly knocking something up and making a classic. Yeah, I mean, the problem is a lot of the time, the ones that I've knocked up quickly, I'll play it to Bukem down the phone and he'd be like, send it. So I'll be all excited and I'd send it and it sort of weren't quite, the idea was there, but it just needed a little bit of extra work. So I think, yeah, definitely.
You could make a rock track and send it to him and he'd like it. He'd be like, yeah, that's wicked, I'm going to play it out on Saturday. Anyway, this is a new thing that you've got coming out. This is called Bells and Whistles.
That's right, yeah.
Tell us a little bit about this.
Yeah, I did this, what are we in now, October, August. This was probably August time. So I've basically just moved to a new house and it's got its own separate house from my studio. So I've gone from living in a terraced house to sort of like having a separate annex.
Wow.
So for me, this was...
Living the rock and roll lifestyle, baby.
Yeah. But it was like I had real fun because I could sort of really crank it.
Wicked, man.
Yeah, so I think this was the first thing I finished with my new premises.
We got Furney in the house. A track in the background called Bells and Whistles. Got an exclusive coming up from Furney, so don't go anywhere. Got loads happening before the end of the show.
The newest talent, the biggest bass lines and the freshest beats. It's Fabio and Grooverider on BBC Radio 1.
Loving that. That's a very reminds me of PFM.
Oh really? Well, He was a big influence.
Oh, incredible, man. That little spell really made the Western, the one and only, all of those tunes, man. Free La Funk, the remix and stuff like that. He was absolutely incredible, man.
He's definitely one of my favourite all-time artists.
Absolutely, without a shadow of a doubt. Like
him and Big Bud.
Him and Big Bud, of course, who's still going. He's still doing stuff.
Mate, Big Bud, I was with him the other day. We played in Brick Lane, me and Nookie and Soltec, the other guys, brilliant night. But Big Bud, he's just on form. He's in Serbia at the moment, travelling backwards and forwards.
Okay.
Yeah, but he's always on form. So I've got a few bits coming out with him as well.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah.
We're talking about stuff you've got coming out. What's the plan? Because, you know, we want some Furney stuff out there now because, you know, everyone hears all these tracks on the radio and they're kind of like, wow, you know, when are these tracks coming out, man? So what's the latest?
Yeah, I get asked that all the time, actually, because I've got a lot building up.
Yeah.
In the last sort of 5 years. But the next batch of tracks about to come out, there's 10 tracks with Nookie, a 4-track EP. That's on the Strictly Digital Fusion. There's a Spanish label as well called Black Reflection Records, who are real fans. They put out vinyl still. They're not just a digital thing. They're putting out 2 of my tracks. Got 2 tracks with Big Bud as well, and 45 tracks with Good Looking as well. But they're guaranteed. I've actually obviously it's been a long time coming. I think they're perfectionists at doing what they're doing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Getting the right kind of deals and all the rest of it. So, you know, I'm holding out for them. I've got all the paperwork and all the forms and things.
So it's ready to go?
It's definitely ready to go. You know, I wouldn't be stood here saying.
Well, no, exactly.
Yeah.
Now it's been on Radio 1.
Yes.
That is going to get them. It's going to get Danny off his arse, man. You get me?
Yeah.
But anyway, listen. And what is that going to be? Like a retrospective album? Is it all the tracks over the years, or is it brand new material?
Yeah, well, there's a mixture of both, really. A sort of lot of the unreleased ones that, like, you know, even ones you were mentioning earlier.
Yeah.
That are definitely going to announce.
Rodeo Drive, stuff like that.
Things like that. All coming out. I mean, I could sit and read the whole list to you, but obviously it's a bit boring.
No, we haven't got the time, actually.
But yeah, all the ones people might say, "Oh, when's that coming out?" It'd probably be in the list because there's quite a
few.
Yeah.
And what's your plans? What's your plans for 2012 to keep this thing moving and?
Yeah, keep doing it. I've been travelling abroad quite a bit as well. The DJ, and I can't beat that. You know.
Excellent.
Love doing that.
Got to get you down Swerve, actually, because that set that night you played.
Yeah, was it?
That was a magical set. That was a good night, man.
I really enjoyed it.
Wasn't as busy as it could have been, but everyone that was there enjoyed it, and it's great to go out and hear the music you love all night. And,
Mate, totally.
That's very important. I can sit down in an empty room and listen to the likes of Bukem and people like that just roll out, because it's just like it's inspirational to me, and it's hearing a set of music you've never heard before, which Danny always manages to do. It does keep you wanting to move stuff forward. So and anyway, listen, we've run out of time, unfortunately.
Right.
Anyone you want to big up quickly before we play the last track?
Yeah, everyone I know, all my friends and family.
Yeah.
No one specific.
No,
like
don't mention names.
No names.
Because you're getting in a lot of trouble.
Exactly more.
So you like that?
Yeah.
You could really fit in for my show the next time away. But anyway, listen, really, it's been a long time, man, and I know you've been sitting down thinking, Fabio is never going to get me on the show.
I had faith in you, actually, mate.
Really?
I did.
Oh, that's good. That's good to hear.
Exactly.
Thanks for coming down, and tell us about this last track you're going to play.
Yeah, this last track.
This is an exclusive, by the way.
It is. It's actually a collaboration.
Okay. With
our friend from Vienna, Paul SG.
Oh, I love it, man. I love his stuff.
We just DJ'd out there September.
Where in Vienna?
Yeah,
right?
Vienna, yeah. I've been there a few times now. Love it there. And this was what came out of it. Obviously,
I love all the stuff J Rome and
J
guys.
Rome. Actually, I forgot that. Bigging up J Rome.
Yeah.
Oh, no, I'm not supposed to big up. Not supposed to name names.
Retract that.
Yeah, but yeah.
Florian and all them guys.
Yeah.
I mean, it's big up from me.
Yeah, I've got a couple of tracks coming on his label. I've signed 2 tracks to his label, J Rome's label as well, actually. So. Yeah.
So it's great that you're out there. You're really getting things moving now.
Yeah, man. I am actually. It's been a long time, so I've sort of
making some boss moves. Great to hear that.
Exactly.
Anyway, Furney, listen, great to have you in. Keep them coming, man, because you're keeping the whole Quiet Storm thing. You're keeping it running almost single-handedly.
Oh man, I don't know about that. That means a lot, dude.
But just keep the tracks coming, because I'll always be playing them.
Oh mate, yeah. Well, that's all that matters to me.
And I'll see you on the road soon, man.
Wicked. Yeah, definitely.
What's the name of this track, lastly?
This track is called Not Long Ago. Not Long Ago.
Many thanks to Furney. We have still got Grooveriders Show Invasion coming up. We've got some of your Facebook shouts. And we've got some more music before the end of the show.
It was fascinating.
It's Fabio. It's Radio 1.
You heard it here first. Exclusive business right here on the Drum and Bass Show.
It was fascinating. It was fascinating.
Exclusive business on the Drum and Bass Show with Fabio and Grooverider.
I know.
Fabio, Grooverider, the biggest drum and bass radio show in the world on BBC Radio 1. 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 BBC Radio 1.
It
Come for clash bad sound. Nothing no start yet. Clash bad sound. Nothing no start yet. Come a sound war to one night here. Come for clash bad sound. Nothing no start yet. Bad sound. Nothing no start yet. Start yet.
A track entitled Comfy Clash Bad Sound. Love that, man. It's got a real dancehall kind of. Imagine Movado spitting over that, man. Big, big tune. Played that at Ram and it absolutely smashed the place. Many thanks to Furney. What a lovely guy. And he makes some wonderful music as well. So great to have him in.
Nothing no start yet.
Right, it's that time. We don't do the rewind track no more, as you know. Because we like to move ahead with features, chop and change things around every now and again. So we do a thing called the Show Invasion, where I take over Grooverider show, play a track in its entirety, and no matter how much we dislike the track, we are not allowed to stop it. We've got to play it from beginning to end. And Grooverider's here to introduce today's track.
Back up. It's time for the Grooveriders Show Invasion.
All right, Fab, this is the show takeover. No, it's not, Fab, it's just Show Invasion. This week I've got something a bit on the funk side of things. Seems we're going to be celebrating Swerve 20 years very soon. I thought I'd play one of these ones. It's a track by Command Strange. It's called A Girl Like You. And it's for you. A girl like you, Fab.
Girl Like You. Very funny. That was the track from Grooverider. I called A Girl Like You, and yeah, very funny at the end, Groove. But yeah, that is the show invasion for this week. If you want to hear what one of my current favourite tracks are, check out Grooverider's show next week, where I'll be taking over 5 minutes of your show and playing my favourite tune. Right, running out of time. I'm going to try and Fit a few in before the end of the show. Actually, a few Facebook shouts were the last batch. Zachary Staines says, can't sleep, so I'm locked all the way. He's from Nottingham, Zachary. Marcin Janila says, loving the DMB, you're a legend. Listening to your show from England. Elaine Stam says, tuning in as always from Toronto in Canada. Calla Penrose says, tuning in from Adelaide in Australia. Sick beats. Manny Hidalgo says, big ups from DC. Y Allen says, locked in from Colorado. Mark Priestley sending out mad love. And big shout going out to Connor Griffiths. That's your Facebook shouts for this week. Many thanks for writing in, telling us how you feel about the show. Big shout to Sigma. Thanks for the headphones. In the background, Killer. Old school vibes on this. Paradise Lost, Soul Intent. Yes. Soul Intent, Paradise Lost. Going in crust style on that, man. Wicked. We have come to the end of the show. Coming up next, filling in for Dev is Adam Catterill. Then Moilsey is back from 6:30. Check our Facebook page out, become a fan, and check out all the pictures and get the latest news from all things Fabio and Grooverider. Also, if you want to hear the show again, because it was worth listening to, we had Furney on, we've had the Quiet Storm, we've had the Show Invasion, and we kicked off with the sound of Calibre and Drop It Down. What a tune. Got Pippa bopping. It's when I know she's been bopping all show, so I know I've done well. And James has been making the tea, which is all good. Pippa's become a lady of leisure. That's the way she's doing it right now. But many thanks to James and Pippa.